In commemorating the historic victory of Adwa, in which Ethiopians defeated the Italian invaders in the 19th century, which showed their unity and bravery, Addis Ababa city administration built the Adwa Memorial Museum at the heart of the capital. The Memorial Museum signifies the heroism of Ethiopians and their togetherness to defeat the enemies and be exemplary for the rest of Africa and black people across the world.
The initiative behind this is to commemorate the victory of the Battle of Adwa, which U-turned the history. As you know, Ethiopia is the first black nation to defeat white colonizers, very modern European military. It's a huge victory for the whole black, not only for Ethiopia and Africa, but for the whole black community in the world. So it is to commemorate the heroes and heroines who sacrificed their life for the freedom of Ethiopia.
Welcome to Adwa Victory Memorial Museum. Where we are now is the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum, where our forefathers became united. This museum have around 8 gates, and where we are now is among those 8 gates, which is known as the cavalry gates. And welcome again to the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum. Okay, here we are heading to the central or inside the museum, and the idea of constructing this museum was initiated by our current Prime Minister, His Excellency Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and it's also constructed under the surveillance or the control of the Addis Ababa city government administration by Her Excellency Madam Mayor Adis Ababa. And as you can see, it is just constructed beautifully here, and it is very suitable or comfortable to come, to let all visitors to come here and see the museum. And the point where we are now is, as you can see here, starting point plaza. That means the point at which we used at the starting point. The circle we see on the ground here is our spot where elsewhere is measured, or the 0 kilometer starting point to measure any distances everywhere in the waters. That means, for example, the Battle of Adwa is 996 kilometers far from here. We start the measurement from here, and if we just sail this point is this much far from Addis, we start our measurement from here, and that means this is our spot where elsewhere is measured. Why we chose this place was, the reason behind we chose this place as a 0 kilometer was that 129 years ago, before our forefathers started their march to Adwa, to the Battle of Adwa, they were gathered where this museum, and over there also there is our municipality where this museum was built. That's why we chose this spot as a starting point to measure any distances. That means, in other words, where we are now is where our history began, or where everything was started. So I'm gonna to show you the other parts of the museum, and we start by going this way. Please follow me. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, where we are now is the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum, where the story of the Adwa victory was presented and beautifully displayed. As you know, Ethiopia is the only African country that has never been colonized. That means 129 years ago, the government of Italy came to Ethiopia to take our land, to take our freedom, to take our resources by force. But before that, around 120,000 Ethiopian troops were gathered they become united without any differences, without any tribal, religious, and any differences. And they went to the northern part of Ethiopia to confront the Italian aggression and also to preserve their nation. And they got a victory at the Battle of Adwa. And you see over there, down there, we see the monument that stands or erected here to commemorate those 120,000 Ethiopian troops at the Battle of Adwa. And the monument we see over there, down there is the monument stands to commemorate and to celebrate those 120,000 Ethiopian troops who contributed who sacrificed their lives at the Battle of Adwa. Totally, there were 120,000 Ethiopian troops without any differences. They came from all portions of the country, and they became united, and they get a victory at the Battle of Adwa 129 years ago. That means in 1896, on the 1st of March. And out of those 120,000, more than 45,000 were the cavalry, the horsemen and the horsewomen. As you can see here, the horsemen at Adwa. Horses have been integral to Ethiopian combat since ancient times. And also more than 45,000 cavalry were participated on this battle. And this statue stands to commemorate those 45,000 cavalry who played a crucial role at the Battle of Adwa. And also we Ethiopians had a great connection with the horses since antiquity. That means we used horses during sorrow or during sad times, in the weddings, in cultural days, and in wars as well. And also we've seen our heroes were used to call by their horse names instead of their names as nicknames. And that is how we used, or how we had a great connection with the horses. Follow me. And here in front of us, we've got two statues. The statue of Emperor Menelik and his wife Empress Taitu, who governed Ethiopia, who led Ethiopia during that time. And the statue, their statue is erected here to commemorate or on the remembrance of their contribution and their roles at the Battle of Adwa. And also, as you can see her statue, the queen or the wife of an emperor, she is pointing out to the source of water. We put this fountain for a reason. At a place called Makale during that wartime, there was a water spring that the Italians used. And she saw while the Italians used that source of water, and she told the troops, or she ordered the troops to stop or to cut that source of water. And they did so, which led, and they immediately just cut or stopped the source of water. And the Italians immediately withdrawn from that place without any war, without any bloodshed, only by her smart decision making. And also she was a very wise woman, and she is a very wise empress who was a very strategist, and she played also a great role in this victory, which also tells us how smart our women was. Those 120,000 Ethiopian troops were led in 12 directions under 12 military commanders. Here in front of us, we've got 6 of them, and when you go that way, you've got the rest 6s. As you can see, their statue stands under each pillar. That means a pillar is the foundation for a house. The same like that, their bones and blood were a foundation for this country. This is its architectural representation. and we've got 6 of them here, started from Itaurari Gabayo Gabo Gurmu, and there is the name in the bracket called Abagorao. Abagorao means a source name. As I mentioned earlier, we Ethiopians or our heroes were used to call by their horse names as well instead of their usual name. And here also we've got Itaurari Gabayo Gabo Gurmu or Abagorao by his horse name. That means out of the 12 military commanders, the only military commander who sacrificed his life at the Battle of Adwa was Itaurari Gabayo Gabo Gurmu. While the rest 11 came back alive, the only one who sacrificed was Itaurari Gabayo Gabo Gurmu. That's why we put his statue first. And here, the old Ras Makonnen or the Mikhail Gudisa, Abakanyo. Abakanyo means, as I told you earlier, it's his source name. And Lord Ras Makonnen or the Mikhail Gudisa was the father of Emperor Haile Selassie, or the last king of Ethiopia. That means this is Emperor Haile Selassie's father. And at the Battle of Adwa, during the Battle of Adwa, Emperor Haile Selassie was a 4-year-old little boy, a 4-year-old little boy. And here Nugus Taklaimano Tasamma Goshu, Abatana by his horse name. And here Nugus Mikhail Ali Liban Abashanko by his horse name. And Nugus Mikhail Ali Liban was also the father of Liz Iyasu, the young leader following Emperor Menelik. Here we've got the Jazmat Baltasar Foroba or Abba Nafso. He was also very popular by operating a cannons, and also this guy was an advisor for an emperor. Here we've got Raswale Bitulaila Mariam Abba Tattau, and he is also, as his name tells us, he was an older brother of Empress or Empress Taitu. Empress Taitu Bitul and Ras Wele Bitul. They are brothers and sisters or siblings. Let us follow me. Here my guests, we have to see there are 6 Itaurari after Georgi Tinagde Hundul or Abba Machal. This guy was considered as the first defense ministry of Ethiopia, who served and who also contributed a great role in the Battle of Adwa. And here Ras Alula Ngada Kubi or Abanaga from the Tigray region, and also Ras Mangasha Yohannes Mercha or Abagatam. And this guy was also the son of Emperor Yohannes IV, that means an emperor of Ethiopia before Emperor Menelik. And here also we've got Wakshum Gwangul Buru Gabramadrin or Abba Merkab. I told you the name in the bracket, or say Abba something represents or indicates their horse names. And Wakshum Gwangul Buru Gabramadrin, and his horse name is Abba Merkab. And Ras Abata Bayualo Nugusu or Abba Isra. And also finally we've got Ras Bitwadet Mengasha Tikan Biterfu or Abba Gadep. And those are the 12 military commanders who played a great role on this victory. They came from all portions of the country without any differences, and they played an essential role. And also they contributed or they participated in different roles. Some are advisors, some are strategists, and also as you can see their statue, all of them were on their barefoot, and they became united and played a great role on this victory. Hello ladies and gentlemen, now we are heading to the central part of the museum where the real artifacts and the real weapons that our forefathers have been used were displayed. And we start this way, and also if you see here, if you see the lights, they are designed after the shape of the shields that our forefathers have been used to protect themselves. Okay, as you know, Ethiopia had not a formally trained military forces like today, defense force or Air Force, something like that, so that the farmers were the soldiers. And this corridor is named after those farmers, or dedicated for those farmers who contributed a great role on this victory. And all of the corridor is represented by a pictures or a drawings that represents the role and contribution of the farmers. For example, if you see here, we've seen while the farmers prepare weapons to arm those huge armies. And also this corridor tell all about the role and contribution of farmers. Still now we are found in the corridor of the farmers, or in a farmer's corridor here, while the farmers say goodbye for his family, for his wife, and for the villagers, and joining the army. And there were also two big gatherings. The one was here at Addis, and also the second one was at Ilu. And here in this picture also we've got while the cavalries were marching with the infantry together. And here also we've got some smart or unique artwork that was made of wooden. I think they made it by scratching it or just stitching, and it's beautiful while the cavalries or the horsemen were marching. And in these both sides of the walls we've got the paintings which represented the topography or the terrains of the Battle of Adwa. That is, as you can see, it's full of rocky mountains, and to represent to remember the ups and downs that our forefathers went through. And finally, the rage of the nearby to the Battle of Adwa, and while they were preparing for the final combat or for the final battle at the Battle of Adwa. And this is all about the farmers' corridor. So where we are now is the central part of the museum, where the real artifacts, the real weapons that our forefathers have been used 129 years ago is displayed. And this is the central part of the museum. You go down there and see the weapons and the logistic material that they used during that time, one by one. And before that, and this museum was also just visited by a lot of students and different portions of the society, including from the students up to the elders, the military, and so on. That means also it makes them to know, just to let them grow, knowing their forefathers, heroes, and unity. It also helped Ethiopia to forward in the future with the future generations. And this is how, or this is why, one of the main reasons why this museum was built. So I'm going down to the central part of the museum, and the war between Ethiopians and the Italians took place in 1896. But 7 years before that, in 1889, the government of Italy came to Ethiopia and signed an agreement at a place called Ujale, which was known as the Ujale Treaty. And this treaty consists or comprises 9 articles and 20 articles, and out of those 20 articles, the different meanings of the Amharic and the Italian texts of the 70th article led them to this conflict. And this was an immediate cause for the war. And this treaty was signed in a small Ethiopian town of Ujale, from which the treaty got its name. That's why it's called the Treaty of Ujale, and consists of 20 articles and different meanings of the Amharic and the Italian texts of the different articles led them to conflict. The Amharic text tells us, His Majesty the King of Kings of Ethiopia can use, I want you to underline this word, can use the government of His Majesty the King of Italy for all business with other powers or government. This is the Amharic version in English, and this is the English version, the Italian version in English. His Majesty the King of Kings of Ethiopia allows you to make use of the government of His Majesty the King of Ethiopia, the King of Italy for all business dealings he had with other powers or governments. You see, here it says can use, and here it says allows you. Can use means it depends on your will, but when you come here, it allows means to give permission for them. That is the main reason that they went to the conflict. They tried to correct or amend this article. Unfortunately, they were failed to correct it, so that the war was declared. During that time, there was not a radio, there was not a media like today to call the villagers to war, so that they used the drums to communicate or to send a message to one another before they started their march to Adwa. They used such a drums to call one another, and they used it as a signal to call the villagers. And this is how they got gathered and started their march to Adwa. And this is one of the thousands of drums that they used during that time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see at the back of me, there are a group of students who are coming to visit this museum to learn about the story of their forefathers, their forefathers did 129 years ago at the Battle of Adwa. You see, the first significance of this constructing this museum was also to learn or to let the children or the current generation know about the hero-ness and the unity of their forefathers, and also to make the current country united without any differences. And as you can see here, all of the students are touring or visiting their forefathers' story, and this is the first and the one aim of building or constructing this museum. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are heading to the 3D or the sandcast that represents the geographical scale representation of the battlefields of Adwa, at which this war took place that 139 years ago. And this is a geographical scale representation that represents the battlefield of the Battle of Adwa, that the war between the Italians took place. And the black dots represents the Ethiopian army, and the yellow dots represents the Italian army, and both armies came to the middle and they fought at the middle at a place called the Mendabdab. And I've already told you that out of the 12 military commanders, we sacrificed only one military commander, while the rest 11 came back alive. And when it came to the Italian side, there were 6 military commanders, and out of those 6 military commanders, 4 military commanders, who is called General De Vito, General Dabormeda, General Arimondi, and General Elena, have been killed or died at the Battle of Adwa. And there is one general who is called General Albertoni. They captured him, the Ethiopian troops captured him, and they brought him from Adwa here to Addis, and they imprisoned him, and they sent him back after negotiating with the Italians to his country. And there was one more general, Italian general, who is called General Baratieri. He got defeated, but he flown back to Eritrea, Asmara, during that time. And also there was a prime minister who is called Prime Minister Crispi there in Italy. And as this victory happened at the Battle of Adwa, he resigned himself from the power. And also we seized more than 40 cannons from the Italians, and the cannon we see here is one of them, or one of the forties that we seized from the Italians, which was made in Torino 13 years before the war. And this, they were on their barefoot. They hadn't took any military size trainings, but by the love they had for their country, by their unity, Ethiopian forefathers or Ethiopian heroes did a great miracle at the Battle of Adwa 129 years ago. And here also we've got the artwork that represents how the war started and ends. You see how they used drums to communicate, and also there was a news teller next to the one who operates the drum. And this is how the Ethiopians gathered and became united, and they stand for the common goal. We are also now in the central part of the museum, where the attires of heroes were displayed and where the real photographs have been displayed. And the Ethiopian forefathers, that means that those 120,000 Ethiopian heroes, they became united and they get a victory at the Battle of Adwa, finally. And here we put, here in this text we put the tale of reconciliation, or the diplomatic relationship that we are with the Italian government on these days. And now we are in a good diplomatic relationship with the Italians, and in so many aspects, in economies, infrastructure, health, and such like things. And also, the first official embassy to be here in Ethiopia was an Italian embassy. That means it represents that we are in a good diplomatic relationship these days. And there is something, or one that I want to tell you. This is our alphabet, and this is our numbers. And Ethiopia is the only African country to have its own alphabets and numbers, which is called the Giz numbers and Giz alphabets. And after they finally get a victory at the Battle of Adwa, there are consequences. That means the first and immediate consequences were the victory of Adwa inspires the rest of Africa and the rest of black peoples. And on this side of the world, we've got the role and contribution of Adwa for the formation of African Union, for the Pan-Africanism, and for the anti-colonial movement. And Ethiopia supported so many African brothers to get them free. And there are some Pan-African congresses which were held in different cities outside of Africa. And here, the year 1935-36, the year the Italians came back for the second time. And also here we've got the year 1957, the African country, or Ghana, the year that Ghana gave their independences. And that's also inspired African countries, like they were inspired at the victory of Adwa. And here 1960, the Year of Africa, because more than 17 African countries get their independence. And here in 1963, the year that the former Organization of African Unity was established. And here are some of the founding members of the Organization of African Unity. And here is the last king of Ethiopia, who is Emperor Haile Selassie I. And also Ethiopia and Adwa played a great role for the formation of African Union, and that's why Addis Ababa is chosen as a headquarter of African Union. And here in this year, the former Organization of African Unity transformed to AU, and it transforms its aims, missions, and some things like that, and also the logos. And fortunately, this logo was designed by an Ethiopian diaspora who lived in Seattle, Washington. Just he ran for a bid, and then finally he won the bid. And this beautiful logo was also made or designed by an Ethiopian artist who is called Addis Ababa. That means that the thing that I want to tell you is that then in 129 years ago, then there was our forefathers that inspired the rest of Africa. And also when it comes to the current days, we Ethiopians also participated or played a great role in the formation and activities of the African Union and Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be our last visit or our last treasury for our tour, and the aircraft we see in front of us is called Tsehay. Tsehay means literally translated the sun. It's an Amharic word, and Tsehay aircraft was the first ever aircraft which was made in Ethiopia in 1935. 1935 means the year the Italians came again for the second time to revenge the defeat at Adwa. And so that they came and they got Tsehay and they dismantled it and they took it to Italy. And for the past 88 years, Tsehay aircraft was visited in different Italian museums. And 1 year ago, our current Prime Minister, His Excellency, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed, went there and negotiated with the Italian government and brought it back to his homeland or to his home country a year ago. That means this aircraft we see in front of us is a newly returned aircraft here in Ethiopia. And what we learned from Tsehay was that, you see, we have been discussing the heroes of our forefathers. We have been discussing about battlefields, but what we learned from Tsehay was that our forefathers were not only heroes at the battlefields, but they had an innovative mind to develop their country, but they had a dream to make their countries bigger. And this aircraft was initiated and built by Emperor Haile Selassie I, and it is returned back by our current Prime Minister, His Excellency, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed. And this also tells us the continuity of our leaders. And the first thing or the main thing for this achievement is also the Battle of Adwa and the victory of Adwa, that our forefathers sacrificed and get the victory at the Battle of Adwa 129 years ago. And its name is also named after, this aircraft was also named after the name of the daughter of Emperor Haile Selassie, Princess Tsehay. She was known as, just considered as the first nurse in Ethiopia, and it's dedicated for her. That means that's why it's called Tsehay aircraft. And this is all about the historical part of Adwa. And thanks for watching.
you.